See, I already turned that light switch on, and see there's no cover plate on it. I don't want anything getting in there. No inspector would have left that had they have known, but you know, the inspector, when he signed off, he didn't get up here to look, did he? Because no inspector in the right mind would final off a house without all the cover plates being put on. And see, that was because of that heating unit up there. And they've got a light up there, and they've got a plug right there, an outlet, so that they could plug in the blower, the motor, or whatever up in there. So there you go. Okay. And see, that looks like an ivory, an off-white Navajo color, doesn't it? Up there. Yet everything downstairs has white. See, bright white switches, cover plates. I went down to the store, got me a single, and that's off-white. They have off-white, they also have white, see? The reason why I got one of those, because downstairs I noticed that there was a crack in the bathroom. And I'm just doing it because I can. So I'll replace that. I've got all the screws in there. When I take that old cracked cover plate off, I'll save the screws. So I'll have 4 extra white screws in case I ever need them. I'll save them. And this one will go on up in the attic. Okay, I just got that on there. That's more better. All right. If you ever put a junction box or an outlet up here and you put it against a 2x4, make sure you at least make it flush so that you can get your cover plate on there. You don't have to, you know, like down here, if you were to do that, you'd have to extend this out a 1/2 inch for it to allow for your sheetrock and stuff. But here you can flush it up. Just don't make it behind the 2x4 a little bit, because then maybe you can't get your cover plate on. That's not what I was going to show you. This is the crawl hole in the hallway, and here's the piece, and I just shoved it over here. Now see, this crawl hole has a big piece of bat insulation over it, and it looks like, wow, that was nice. They even stapled it down. They pulled this down, and they stapled this down to the sheetrock, so it kind of attaches on here. And I could take I've got a little stapler, and I could put a couple more staples if I want. That's kind of a good idea. That way it always stays there, because you can imagine, and before I go any further, see, there's in a few places in the house there's bat insulation, kind of like this. See over here, and then over in here they blew it in. I don't know, I'm not quite sure the theory about that. See, here is bat insulation. See there? And they actually kind of did a good thing for us, because this area here is in the garage. They didn't necessarily have to put bat insulation in the garage, but I guess they did that because they've got the heater over here, and they didn't want too much cold air coming up from the garage ceiling up into here and make the heater run more. I don't know, but generally you don't have bat insulation. You got nothing out here, but they ran it, and then they blew in other insulation, which is kind of odd. But I wanted to show you this because whenever you have a crawl hole, you don't want to just put the sheetrock there, because if you put this sheetrock there, you know, the crawl hole cover, you've got that whole area that does not have any insulation over it. So in the summer, when it's hot up in the attic and you want the cool air inside, when you turn your air conditioner on, you don't want some of that cold air to go on up through the crawl hole and have the heat from the crawl hole coming down, and vice versa in the winter. We want that insulated up there, so when you're heating your room, you don't have lots of your heat going up through your sheetrock ceiling there, because all you got is sheetrock. You don't have any insulation on top of it. Because see, in the laundry room, we've got a longer piece of sheetrock for our sheetrock crawl hole, and they had blow-in insulation all over there, and they blew some insulation in, and there's about this much blow-in insulation on top of the sheetrock, which tells me, you know, I probably should clean that off and put it up in the ceiling, and then get a piece of batt insulation and put over that crawl hole, staple it down. And right now I don't have any extra batt insulation, but eventually I'm going down underneath the floor, because I can crawl around, walk around under there, and I noticed that there's some batt insulation that's missing down there. So I'm going to have to get a roll probably at the store, and what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to measure this with my tape measure, because they have different thicknesses at the store, and I'll get a, you know, a roll, and see, here's some batt insulation. Look at that. I've got, see, this is not very thick, is it? This stuff here was designed to fit in a wall, and they thought, oh, we'll just take this and we'll fit it down in here, and that's how that's set. So I can fix that. I can fold it up, cut it, put it back down in there a little bit, clean out some of the blow-in insulation underneath there, push this down there, because you want to leave this kind of airy. You don't want to leave it mashed down, because then you lose your R factor. Okay, so I'll get back over in there, and you keep watching, and I've got some little pieces of OSB plywood where I was fixing the deck, and I made a whole series on that, drywall, dry rot deck repairs or something. Look through my playlists and you'll find it. And I had some extra, you know, little pieces, and instead of throwing them away, I saved them. Pack Rat Joe, right? I saved these, and I'm going to use these up there. And here's an old piece that I cut out, and this was the old stuff that I replaced. And I'm going to cut off a little, and I could use a couple little strips of that too, even this little piece. I don't know why I saved that, but I can lift it over the edge. If this is the cut of plywood, I can put it over a little bit, because it's right up next to a truss, remember? And I can screw this down into my plywood, overlap it, and that'll hold that from going down in the hole. And I could even put a couple screws in there into the other plywood if I want. Same thing with this. Here's my piece of plywood that I'm fitting down there that I cut out, let's say. And I can set that there, a couple screws in there, one screw into that. You'll see. Just keep watching. I'll get up in there. I've got to make a trip in there, because I got to carry that stuff in there. I've got some drill bits in here. I've got my my little battery, and I've got my flashlight. I've got the battery up there in my Sawzall, and I'll show you down in that hole before we cover it. Okay, so you can see everything snapped down properly and everything. And so I've got a couple trips I got to walk back and forth before, and then I've got to take my tripod up there. Yeah, all this just so that I can show you what I'm doing. But you know, I think you appreciate the different videos that I make, and it's all about, what is it about? Saving you money on your how-to projects around the house. Yeah.